What is happening? This is episode 3 of the Nintendo Powercast. I'm your host, Josh Schmidt. I got Brian with me. What's up, dude?
Nothing much. Just waiting in anticipation. We got 2 more weeks. Nintendo Switch.
14 days until
Yeah.
we get our dirty mitts on the Nintendo Switch. And all of our dreams come true.
I don't know about that, but it'll be exciting.
I gotta say, man, I'm so hyped for this thing that I feel like a kid at Christmas, and I rarely get that feeling about anything anymore. So it's to me, that's exciting. I do want to give a quick shout out to everybody hanging out with us in chat that just let us know that, hey, Josh, your audio wasn't coming through. Somebody just said they liked it better that way. Thank you, Broncos, for that. And so this is take 2, but you know what? We're all right with this. So, I'm going to give you guys the lowdown of tonight's show. We're going to be talking about game or series that we want to see back on the Switch. And, good. Alka-Seltzer also liked it better when I wasn't talking. Good to know. Maybe you should just do shows without me, bro. Like,
no one wants that.
It seems like everyone does. Hang on. I'm going to try to figure out how to cry, and then I'll do it. So we're going to be talking about game or series we want on the Switch. We're going to talk about the Zelda DLC because the internet
loves it.
Seems to hate it.
Loves it.
And then we're going to talk about backwards compatibility and or virtual console, possible GameCube games, and Wii games on the Switch. Before we do, Brian.
Yeah.
Played any games this week? Nintendo or otherwise?
I had been playing a lot of Nintendo games, but this week, I've been really busy this week, so games got reduced down to, I think I mentioned it on the last cast, a little game called Rebel Galaxy, made by a couple of dudes up there in Washington.
Oh, nice.
Really fun game. Basically, it's a, I would say it's an indie game, because like I said, it's smaller in scope than a AAA title. But you do a lot of, I guess, like naval combat, but it's in space. You do a lot of they even call it in the game broadsiding. You pull up alongside of another like large ship, like large capital ship, and you fire like giant main cannons at them.
Oh yeah.
But it's pretty cool. It's got a little bit of a Mass Effect to it, where you got multiple options when you're talking to NPCs, and other cool just little things. You can hire a mercenary that has a little fighter ship that follows you around. And I just started that one. There's multiple galaxies you can fly to. I'm only on the first starting galaxy. But that one's fun. It's called Rebel Galaxy. The other guys, I believe it's Double Damage. That's the name of the company. And I tweeted out a long time ago about they showed like this little GIF or GIF, whatever. That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole other podcast.
Where it's like this first person cockpit view, and it shows the guy moving his fighter all around, and he shoots someone else, and it's like, flies through the explosion. So that's apparently what they're working on next. So, but yeah, I've been playing a little bit of that. And then also I've finally fired up The Witcher 3 again. I think I'm on the first mission. That game is gorgeous. And from what I understand, even the side missions are epic. So I'm looking forward to finally putting some time into The Witcher 3.
Nice. So I played a lot of Nintendo this last week. Played a lot of Mario Kart Double Dash with my wife. We were trying to unlock Toad so that she could run around as Toad and Toadette, which that's her favorite. And we finally were able to. Rainbow Road on Double Dash is it's unfriendly.
It is not in the fun category.
Yeah, it's unfriendly. But so that was fun. We've also did a little bit of Mario Kart 64 recently, and I've still been working my way through Skyward Sword. Mm-hmm. Did a couple boss battles today, and I gotta say, like, some of the mechanics in that game where they like teach you one thing and then they make you do it like 100 times. Not good game design. Like, if they had cut in half the amount of times I had to fire the little flying beetle from my wrist to go grab a bomb and drop it on something, I would have been okay with that. Because, man, oh man, it seemed like that's all I did for a while.
Yeah. I
But
remember.
yeah, yeah. I mean, to the point that I was like, "There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way." But as soon as I finished up the desert dungeon or whatever, I almost immediately got dropped back into another boss fight, which I really enjoyed. It was and just different mechanics and stuff. I'm still not loving the Wii remote. I constantly smack my shock mount for my microphone while I'm streaming, but it's not the worst. It's not the worst. I'm excited to play Breath of the Wild with the Pro controller. I am excited for that, just to play with a controller. I was tempted tonight to even play Wind Waker just so I wouldn't have to swing the Wii remote around, but I'm like, no, I gotta finish this. So
lazy.
It's not laziness. It's just I know the whole reason is like this is supposed to be more immersive, but it's not immersive. I don't feel any more immersed in the game. I'm sitting here like looking like I'm doing inappropriate things on the camera because my hands are constantly moving.
Maybe
right? So
you're just not really getting immersed. You need to have like the green tunic, the hat,
oh my gosh,
the shield. I need to see that on stream.
Yeah,
a grown man wearing that.
Just my camera would go flying, and the sword and shield just ruining my microphone. And right, and Alka-Seltzer says I probably look like a tool. So, and she's correct. So that's kind of been the Nintendo stuff. I did jump in periodically. I'll throw in Mario Run on my phone. I think I have 2 levels left to beat that game. I have not gone like hardcore on that game at all. Like I literally will play it for a minute and then go on to something else. I tried Fire Emblem Heroes, which I'm not a huge Fire Emblem fan. I want to be. I want to get into that series and understand it, but I started playing on DS and I'm stuck. Right now I cannot figure out how to get past the area I'm in. I'm stuck. So I need to look it up, figure it out, get a better understanding of it, and I know I'll like it. But Heroes on the phone is fun. Like it, you every day you sign in, you get some orbs. The problem with it, I hear after listening to some podcasts this week, is that if you get to a certain point and you either have to spend money or you have to spend a ton of time trying to level up. And I've quit other mobile games because of that. I just don't enjoy. I don't enjoy that waiting factor. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't mind paying for games, right? I don't look at a free to play game and say, oh, I shouldn't throw money at this. If I could throw money at it one time and then be able to progress with it, I would. But because it's a constant, I mean, it's great business, but it sucks for me because I'm not going to. I can't afford to continue throwing money at digital goods like that for something that I'm not going to invest that much time into. So I'll play it until I have to invest a ton of time, and then I'll just stop, which is fine. It's free. I can't complain.
Yeah,
and I won't.
I'm not a big fan of those games where you have to do the whole, play it for 10 minutes at a time, and then hey, either throw money at us or you can come back in 30 minutes and play. I feel it really breaks it up, and that's usually about the time I just completely stop playing the game. Like, I'll play the little song and game dance for a couple sessions. Okay, I'll come back to it, and I forget about it. And a week later, I'm like, oh, this game again. And then it tells me, like, oh, you can't play, for another 30 minutes. And I'm like, okay. And then it's not that maybe I don't like the game. I just forget about it. Because, let's be honest, if I really like a game, I'm gonna play it a lot. And who knows, maybe I'll play it all the way through. We hear about those games that can be beat in 5 hours. If I really love the game, I'll play 5 hours of the game, and that's it. The other thing I don't like, which is kind of similar to that in a sense, but not really involving monetization. I don't know how you feel about this type of games. The games where it's almost like it's holding your hand, and then it gets to a point where it almost is like, okay, we're not holding your hand at all. And like the difficulty just ramps up, and I'm like, where's the progression here? Like, I feel like you need one more level, maybe just semi-hand holding, and then cut the leash, dude. Like,
is this like training wheels with your dad?
Yeah, dude,
you're like, don't let go, Dad.
It's not
Don't let
even
go.
like it's not even
You
now like
let
a hand
go.
on the. At least put the hand on the back. Let me ride, but at least you know you're there. But those type of games where they just let go and it's just like, oh, what just happened? Like everything was taking one hit and suddenly this boss is like owning me.
Right.
And then you have
Well,
to go
and to
back
be
and
clear,
grind to get, like you said, you have to go. Oh, you have to go back, grind like crazy. A certain game that comes to my mind is Elder Scrolls, Skyrim.
oh yeah.
Skyrim was like, you could beat that game pretty quickly if you wanted to. It's one of those games where you don't have to do everything in the game, then go fight the boss. It's like, okay, you can do a couple things, level things up. You're strong enough. That game levels with you as well, so that's part of it. But it's like, if you wanted to be the best at making armor or weapons, you had to grind out a lot of gauntlets, a lot of knives.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, like, it's not even fun anymore, but I want that best armor. But like, oh, I feel like this is real life, This is supposed to be fun. So yeah, the games like that make you like hold off and wait or just do something repetitively nonstop, I'm not a fan.
And to be clear, Fire Emblem, you could play it all day. You could play it all night if you want. They don't stop you from playing.
Okay.
But what happens as you level your character, it says, oh, this is going to take X amount of days.
Yeah.
Before you hit that next level. That's is my understanding. Or you can buy the orbs to make it happen right now. And you're like, well, I don't want to do that. So what I'm doing is just signing in every day. Maybe playing one mission and then walking away from it. So that way it's going to take me a while to.
Yeah.
And it's giving me a better understanding of Fire Emblem because it's like what do they call it? Like a tactical RTS or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm trying to think the original. Well, I'm stupid. It was called Final Fantasy Tactics. It was a tactical game. Yeah, there's those style of games which I've always loved, but been terrible at.
Okay.
So,
but Advance Wars, did you ever play that?
Advance Wars, I did enjoy that one. I had that on I think it was the Advanced SP.
The Game Boy Advance SP.
Yeah.
Yep.
Loved that game. They even had a sequel, I believe. That was really fun. I like that game.
Yeah. I bet way back on the PC with my uncle, I'd play one called Battle Island, and that was pretty fun. So, but yeah, so I've kind of just been, and I've even played Pokemon Go. It got an update. I don't really like play that game. I literally swing into a parking lot on my way to work and get a Pokestop and capture one Pokemon a day, so that I can get the 7-day streak and get the extra XP, so I can level up. Because I just want to keep leveling up, so I can get the black and yellow balls and that kind of stuff. And
I think is that the one game where you can be like, there's that phrase like, oh, you don't play it, you live it. I think Pokemon Go is the only game that actually literally applies to.
I hope I'm not living Pokemon Go.
That's Pokemon Go.
That's all I know. So, well, anyway, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show here. Game or series that you would like to see on the Switch. And guys in the chat, go ahead and throw your game or series that you'd like up too, and we'll read it for this section of the show. But go ahead, Brian. What do you got?
For the first one that we're picking, that's super easy for me. I've loved this series going all the way back to the NES, and that's Contra. Nice. I would love to see and I'm not talking. Someone said, who's that? Bronco said, "Cruising USA, done." I would like to see though Contra come back, not as because I don't know. I feel like if I was in the boardroom at Activision right now, I'm like, hey, let's bring back Contra. They'd be like, sweet, first-person shooter DLC, co-op online, multiplayer.
Konami.
And we'll make 30 of them in the next 3 years. No. I'm talking I want to see the side scroller come back. If you're gonna make it 3D, make it like what they call that 2D and a half or 3D or whatever. Where it's still a side scroller.
3D squared.
3D squared, the 5th level. Pie. So I would still like to see the side scroller aspect come back. And there was even a game, weren't you into it? Wasn't it on the Xbox 360? Something Protocol or it was a
Shadow Complex.
Shadow Complex. Yeah, make it like a Shadow Complex. Oh, Broncos, they're going to make another Pikmin for sure because that game keeps coming out and it's the exact same game over and over again. So there's definitely, I'll call it right now, Pikmin 5 confirmed. Are they on 4? They're on 4. Pikmin 4 confirmed. No, they're on... never mind. New Pikmin's coming.
Pikmin 4 would be the next one, I believe.
Yeah. Aqua Sensor says Paperboy, 100%.
Nice, good
Again, another game I'd like to see, like, keep it the way it is, just make it 3D. Like, I don't want to see an FPS, a Paperboy FPS. Though, if they
virtual console? Like, or I'm sorry, like virtual reality? Like,
well, okay, so I was just about to say, if they could bring it virtual reality with the headset, I'm all in. Because I want to, like, I want to get chased by that little terrier, that little dog. That
I'm just picturing, like, dudes in their bathrobes and just hitting them with papers and then trying to get on out of there.
I always loved the musical change when you got to the obstacle course at the end. It's like, loved it.
So as far as Contra goes, man, we've got to get you a 3DS. One way or another, we got to get one in your hand so that you can try Contra 4 because you would love it.
Never played
you would love it. And I mean, I've mentioned it on our other shows before. I had an ongoing bet with anybody. I'd be like driving in my car, I'd pull out my DS and I had Contra 4 in it. And I'm like, $20 if you can beat the first level on normal. You have all your continues and all, I think even on easy, you have all your continues and all your lives. I never paid a single person $20, you know? And it's funny because you pull that out and you say that, and like everyone's ego is like, I got this. And you're just like,
master.
Yeah, whatever, I'm like, bro. Sure you do. Because it took me forever to finally do it. And I got to the point that I could beat it without losing a life because it's just a pattern. But until you learn that pattern, that game's brutal. And it's... and Game Freak saying, good thing you didn't offer it to me. I would have offered it to you at the beginning and before you played it, and it would have destroyed you. I have no doubt in my mind. So, for me, Rogue Squadron. I want to see that series brought back. Not necessarily the old games. I want to see a new game with some updated graphics. I've seen Battlefront, what EA has done with that. He said he never got stuck in the first level. I'm saying he's a liar. No. Hey, good on you, dude. Good on you. I was out of practice when I first picked that game back up, but yeah, Rogue Squadron. Jump back into that. Forget about the on foot levels. Like, let's just focus on flying, space battles, Hoth. You know, we've got battles from episode 7 now. We've got battles from Rogue One. Like, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's update these graphics and go to town.
This is what I would love to see. Okay, you bring up Rogue Squadron. Just getting to the business side of gaming real quick. We know that Lucasfilm was bought by Disney. They gave EA an exclusive deal to the Star Wars games. What if, because let's be honest, a lot of these companies don't want to make games probably for the Switch because they didn't want to make games for the Wii and the Wii U because the install base was low. The hardware was vastly different than the Xbox and the PS4. Those two systems are very similar. There's probably very minimal effort that has to be done to optimize those for each system. What if EA was like, that's cool. We know we're giving license to the game, so we're going to give Take-5 this one back. They can take this back, and let's see what they can do on the Switch. And we all know that...
Are you talking Factor 5? Is that what you mean? Factor 5?
Tomato. Factor 5.
Okay, well, I'm just
what did I say?
Sure. I think you said Take-5.
Take-5. Oh, jeez. No, not Take-5. So let's give Factor 5 back this series. For this one game, they can have their little Rogue Squadron. And we all know that those guys are like technical wizards when it comes to the hardware.
Take them out of bankruptcy.
I would love to see Factor 5, like just like they were given with the GameCube and the Nintendo 64, give them the source code or whatever it was so that they could literally go in, make this game just... I want to see them make this game like better looking than anything ever in the history of like ever. Like, I wanted to take not a figurative but like a literal like crap on those other systems and just make this game look phenomenal, and so they can be like, oh, Switch hardware's not that good, huh? Guess you're not doing it right. A figurative, not no, a literal. I want to take a literal crap on Sony and Microsoft, and just like,
fair enough,
bring out a brand new Rogue Squadron and have it just people going like, how is this running on this? This is just space magic.
Yeah, and that's how Factor 5 was, and I do want to throw out, if some people may like or dislike IGN's Nintendo voice chat, like it or not, check out, I believe it's episode 192, where they interview Factor 5 and they talk about how they reverse engineered the 64 and even the Super Nintendo and the GameCube so that they could squeeze as much horsepower out of those machines as possible. I would love that, dude. If Rogue Squadron 4, was it? Or would it be it'd be 4. Yeah, which according to that podcast is done. It was ready for the Wii, and they picked up another game and it bankrupted them, and they had to leave it.
Thanks,
which
Lair.
just sucks. So, but go listen to that podcast. It's IGN's Nintendo voice chat. I believe it's episode 192. It's in that number if it's not exactly that one, but great show if you want to hear about some of the history of Nintendo. Really good stuff. I would love what you're saying, though. Like, to have some of those games. Like, you remember Resident Evil, what it did for the GameCube? It was like, whoa, this is better looking than anything on the other systems. You know, even Rogue Squadron was like, wow, this is... How are they getting all those particles? How are they... The asteroids. How many asteroids were moving? I was just playing that level, like, last week. Like, this is... I mean, it was unreal.
I've been going back. I've been playing a lot of games on the Dolphin recently. That game has what's called, I believe, it's like self-shadowing, meaning you're not making an artificial shadow, like a blob blur kind of off to one side of like a spaceship. Like, there's a light source, and that light source is hitting the ship, and parts of that ship are like throwing a shadow like on other parts of the ship.
Nice.
And it's just funny to see that, because that game is so old that nothing at that time was doing that and still putting out that much quality, you know? It's like, you could probably dumb things down and get that self-shadowing, but like, basically what they did back in the day was they were allowed to rewrite the firmware on the console. So every time you put that cart in and hit like, you know, power, it was almost like erasing your console and like from the ground up booting with this game, which was pretty amazing for the time. So yeah, that game, even the original Rogue Squadron, I know that the second one, or I should say the third one, was amazing. Yeah, Resident Evil was amazing too. People kind of didn't know why at the time. Each one of those screens that you see from Resident Evil is a separate picture. And the only thing that's actually 3D is your character model and a few little tidbits here and there on screen. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it's pre-rendered. It's like a picture. So they were able to use the full, at the time, 640 by 480, and just as good as you could make a real life picture look, they could do it. And it's like that clever trickery. But yeah, some of these companies, when they make their products, I think they take that little extra, that oomph, which Nintendo usually does, like on their first party titles. I think that's what makes them so good, is they take that little extra, you know, and they don't just say like, oh, it's good enough, let's make the game. So yeah, I would definitely like to see another Rogue Squadron.
Yeah. And like we're saying, like, just some of those games that will blow people's mind, that are like, I mean, Mario Kart 8 did it on the Wii U. It was like, whoa, this game is gorgeous, but it's like a cartoony, you know, like, oh, okay, that I could see that working. But Resident Evil was not cartoony. Rogue Squadron was not cartoony. Metroid Prime even was not really cartoony. I mean, it kind of was, but you know, whatever. So yeah. Rogue Squadron for me, like we mentioned in the chat there, Cruising USA, Resident Evil 4. I'm seeing. Yeah. So moving right along, Zelda DLC was announced, and the internet.
It's literally on fire right now. The internet is actually still on fire.
Yeah, some people got pissed, and the other people got really pissed. So, like, I'm probably on the side that's not as pissed.
I'm not so much on that side, but okay.
Yeah. So, go ahead, give us your. Let me hear it, man. What has frustrated you?
Well, I'll just go down the list. It looks like Nintendo or whoever, Zelda, Link, is doing this 3-prong approach to the DLC. There's an expansion pass bonus, which comes out day 1 of the game. We get 3 new treasure chests. They're found in the Great Plateau. They contain useful items, and they include exclusive in-game clothing. Now, I'm assuming that the in-game clothing is going to be just, cosmetics. I don't know if it's confirmed. Wow, have I been drinking? It's not confirmed, but I have heard that like one of the shirts says like Switch on it. It's probably got the Nintendo Switch logo on Link's shirt. Do I care about that? Is that going to make my gaming experience that much better? Do I feel like I've been cheated out of the game if I don't have that shirt? Nah, that's just me though. I don't know how you feel. So hey,
it breaks immersion in my mind.
Yeah, it looks like it's a fairly serious game, like I don't think they're breaking the fourth wall too much in this game. Like I don't think, unless what's his name? Twiggle, Peggle, I don't know his name. Unless he pops out and like winks at the camera. It looks like it's going to be a pretty, for the most part, serious game. I'm sure there's going to be humor, but
Tingle.
Whatever. I don't want to know what you did last night. These chests, though, it just says contains useful items. Now, I have no problem with this part as long as that useful item isn't going to be something that, like, let's say, for example, that useful item is the hook shot. And I can't get the hook shot in the rest of the game whatsoever unless I pay for this day 1 DLC. I might be like, this is... I'd be mad if it's that type of item. Now, if it's items such as, like, let's say, like, maybe some fairies, I don't know, food for your horse, items that you can get in the game already, but maybe you have to work towards it. You have to do some scavenging. You got to look around for these items. If they give you some freebies up front, I guess that's cool. On the flip side of that, that could be bad because there was that whole DL44 and Star Wars debacle where you were paying for stuff that you could eventually get for free anyways. I don't know how you feel about that.
Not cool.
So I guess that could work both ways. I guess that could work both ways where it's good and bad. Where if it's like, okay, cool, it's some items that I don't need, but they're going to give them to me. Okay, that's cool. But at the same time, it's like, wait a minute, I paid for this? This is all I'm getting, and I can get this stuff within 30 minutes of the game? So I guess that part could go 50-50 either way. That part doesn't really bother me. How about you for the day 1 DLC part?
Okay, first, if it's like you said, if it's something that we can't progress to certain areas if we don't buy it, that's absolute trash. Don't do that, Nintendo. You know better. If it's items that I'm going to unlock eventually, like what Battlefront did, if you spent an extra $20, you unlocked some basically guns that you unlocked much later in the game. You just unlocked them early. What? Like, stop that. Titanfall 2 did the same thing. EA, shame on you. Like, stop squeezing that extra $20 out of people for nothing.
Yeah.
Without making it like abundantly clear what you're doing. Because, like, I mean, shame on me. I bought Titanfall 2 Special Edition because I thought it had exclusive stuff, not just stuff I'd unlock eventually, which wasn't even that. None of it was that great. So,
like, did it even have an exclusive skin?
No, not that I'm aware of. I think it was literally just stuff you unlocked later.
That's ridiculous then, because I got an exclusive skin for going to Buffalo Wild Wings and asking them for a code. I got more from going, and I got chicken with it. So why do I get more? And it's so funny, when I went, the person didn't even know anything about it. They're like, let me ask my manager. Because it literally said on the paper that, like, the wings come on. Ask about how to get Titanfall 2 free code. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess that type of DLC can go either way, you know? Like, oh, it's cool because it's not game breaking, but then it's not cool because what did I really just get? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and here's the thing. This game is not like any other Zelda we've seen. I watched a little bit of it today. And one of the things you do is like you go and kill certain things and they drop meat, and then you can actually take that meat with other ingredients and cook stuff. So literally useful items could be vegetables or meat or things like that. Like we have no idea what that is, and therein lies the problem. We have no idea where that is. The other problem with the timing of this is Nintendo's fiscal year ends March 31st. So everything about this expansion pass screams cash grab. Now, there are some reasons that I don't think it's a cash grab. One, the install base for the Wii U is 7 million less than what the GameCube had when Twilight Princess launched on the GameCube and the Wii. And there's literally, if every Switch sells day one, there's 2 million, right? If they can put out another million by the end of the month and they sell, which is what the Wii did, and the Wii, every 4 Wiis that was sold, 3 Zeldas were sold with them. 3 Twilight Princess. And guys, I spent like 5 hours this morning writing an article about all of this. So go to thelootcave.com, check it out.
Do it.
And you'll see I broke down a lot of numbers on why I could see Nintendo doing this. But like I said, I can see them trying to bridge that gap of the lack of install base. I also break down the numbers of how many Zelda games were purchased on the Wii U versus on the GameCube, because Wind Waker was on both systems and Twilight Princess was on both systems, which is kind of funny. When that hit me, I was like, that's really
Noticing
odd. Yeah, but the GameCube sold better for both of them. That being said, they are HD remakes on the Wii U. They're not brand new games. Okay, fine. Let's they want to bridge that gap. I understand. They want their fiscal year to look good, especially at the very end. They've got a new console coming out. They've got a new game coming out. And from the research I found, the estimated amount of money they make per game is like $18 to $25 is what Nintendo makes on a $60 game. Because you have marketing, you have development, you have manufacturing, you have retail, all of that factors into that. Well, with a DLC, your marketing is tied to the game itself when people fire it up. Buy the expansion pass. Now it's in front of every person that's bought it. That's not a lot of marketing, right? Maybe you do some. They're going to do some, I guarantee it, but they're not going to have to do the kind of marketing they would do for Breath of the Wild. Manufacturing, it's a digital code. You're not putting this thing out on disc, and so your costs are lower. So they could bank on this $20 DLC anywhere. And again, this is just a guess, so don't take this as gospel. Anywhere from $8 to $15, right? Which is close to what they bank on the full game. If it's 18 to 24, so they could almost double down if the install, if the attach rate to the game and the DLC is there by the end of the fiscal year. It could almost double down on software sales for Zelda if it was a really high attach rate. So from a business side, this is good. Nintendo needs to make money. I've looked at their statistics. Everything has gone down, down, down for the last 5 years, significantly. Like I said early on, the bad thing is what you said earlier. Why don't we know what this stuff is? If they had only communicated a little bit better, tell us that Hard mode is the master quest, and it has extra stuff. When they use verbiage that is very vague to gamers who have been screwed by developers using DLC as a way just to gain extra cash from us without a lot of value, Nintendo's not in the best graces with people to do this kind of stuff. They need to communicate well. They need to say that story mission and dungeon, it's not something that we cut out of the game. It's something that we're going to be working on throughout the year, and it's going to add 10 to 20 hours of gameplay. Okay, boom, there you go. Without the other stuff, 10 to 20 hours of gameplay is worth $20. Here's my money.
Yeah, and I think we'll know right away if that's the case. Because let's be honest, this thing's going to come out March 3rd. Someone will have beaten it probably within 24 hours. I don't care how long the developers say this game is. Someone will have, speed run this thing, and it happens with every game. You're gonna get that review up on Kotaku or whoever that says, first player beats game, within 10 hours. Dev said it was supposed to take 20. They're gonna be skipping cutscenes. They're gonna be just flying through this game. So it's never gonna last as long as the creators say it is. It just doesn't. But that they're probably not gonna 100% the game. They're just gonna run through it as fast as they can. That being said, maybe some of this stuff will add to it, which is cool. And like I said, we'll know right away if that's the case. If this is just like a half a game, and that the developers are purposely cutting content. If that's the case, and this, in my eyes, it's being the first AAA title that's coming out for the Switch, the big Nintendo product, not the third-party product. This is Nintendo coming out with Zelda. It's a huge name. I think if they cash grab this thing, that's like, this is how you're gonna play this day one. People aren't gonna like that, and I think it'll be noticeable day one. So like I said, the first expansion pass bonus that we talked about, I think 50-50 that could go either way. We don't know yet because you said we don't know. They haven't told us, so it could be something that adds value, something that could potentially not add value, because it could be like, oh, these are items I can get anyways just by playing the game. Okay, that was no value there. In DLC Pack 1, we've got adds new Cave of Trials challenge. That could be cool. Could be like a speedrun mode, or it could be, go through these caves and you have to collect X amount of coins or rupees to complete the challenge. That could be cool. We got additional map features. We don't know what that is yet. Obviously it's something's going to get added to the map system, I'm guessing, or somewhere on the map we're going to get new items or new challenges, or we just don't know yet. But it looks like more content, which that's cool. The new hard mode, like you said, like we don't know if that's going to be the master quest. That, to me, I really don't know what to expect from that. If it's literally hard mode, like where they just make it to where the enemies are harder or you do less damage to the enemies, I'm gonna like flip my computer desk. Because
I would expect nothing less.
How hard is it to move a slider that says Link does 10% less damage, enemies do 10% more damage, hard mode, Now, maybe they're going to change it, like maybe it'll be totally different. I'm talking let's just say, for example, when you start the game, you start off in a house, you go outside the house, there's 2 enemies. You go down the road, there's 4 enemies. If they change that to where like you go outside your house, there's 10 enemies, and then you go down the road and there's like 30 enemies, and they come in like waves of 3, like, okay, that's pretty big difference. Like that pretty much tells me, okay, you have to know the mechanics of the game. You have to know how to play this game. You need to know how to take on multiple mobs of enemies. If it's straight up just like someone moves some sliders and I have to pay to play hard mode, like I said, I'm going to flip my desk, because that's just totally unacceptable. You go back to any game ever, and there's like, I take that back. I'm sorry. I don't want to say any game ever, but it's like, when the games where you got like easy mode, normal, hard. You know, some games. This is what I like about Resident Evil. You have to unlock easy mode. You have to die like multiple times, and the game's like, "Hey, bro, you might need to tone it down because you're just not cutting it."
Because
That
you're garbage.
yeah, I like that. But even unlocking hard mode, like where I play through the game, I beat it, and it
Ninja
says,
Gaiden had Ninja Dog mode.
"Hey, man, like, but yeah, I mean, but it's there. I mean, yeah, they're like, dude, we don't even care, dude. Just throw in modes. We don't care." But
Yeah.
dude, if I have to pay to play this game twice, that's complete garbage. Like, that's unacceptable in my mind. Because if this does well, think of how many games in the future that I'm gonna have to pay double for just to get more out of it. The way it is now, if it's literally a hard mode, I'm playing this game once and then I'm trading it in. Because what incentive do I have to go play through it again normal? You know?
Right. And I mean, looking at again, we're trying to figure this stuff out, which sucks. We need clear communication. The good thing is the stuff that's dropping day one, I don't think anybody really cares about. Like, even in chat, you guys can let me know. Do you guys care about the stuff that's dropping for Zelda day one? Like, are you excited to throw money at Nintendo for the t-shirts that Link can wear and the useful items? I'm not all that excited. What I am excited about is the moment I saw Breath of the Wild, I wanted DLC for this game. I was like, the map is huge. The more we learned about the map and the world, it was like, I hope they have DLC. I hope they have 2 expansion passes for this game, honestly, and it's something we can go back to, because if Link is truly leveling up like an RPG, I want to go into higher level areas and do these adventures and exploration and that kind of stuff. Because of the verbiage that there's map features being added, I'm guessing that that's going to be tied to hard mode. That there's going to be something that wasn't accessible, or extends missions possibly. I do want to point out, Game Freak says Nintendo DLC hasn't let me down, and I trust them. And I totally agree. Mario Kart 8 DLC was a great value. Mario Golf on the 3DS, I had no problem paying for that. The game dropped at $29.99, I believe, and it was $10 for the expansion pack. And I could be wrong. I'd have to double check that, so don't quote me. The only one that I would have a problem with is the Smash Bros DLC, and that's just because it was so overpriced. But they allowed you to buy the characters individually, so I bought the ones I wanted: Bayonetta and Ryu. I didn't buy any other ones. I didn't care about them, and because I bought them on both systems, I got like $1 break on them, and that was fine. My question is, to incentivize people to spend the money in March, maybe they should say, hey, this DLC is going to be $30 after March, so you're saving $10. And again, this is on the business side of things, to get people to go, oh, I saved $10. Okay, yes, I'll do this. But to do that, they still need to communicate to us, what am I spending the $20 on? How many hours of gameplay is the story? What do you mean by story and dungeon? Is it tied to the story? I mean, let's say there's a part in this game where there's a side quest that a new character is involved in, and at some point they fall off of a bridge, and you think, oh, that's the end of it. Well, then maybe this DLC picks back up where they landed on a pillow and they're fine, and you've got to go rescue them now. Like something like that still ties the story together, but isn't a necessity to complete the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think is really the concern, is like, are we actually getting real value with these items? Or are these literally just, like you mentioned before, like a cash grab? Like, hey, let's give them a couple like fairies. They'll be happy for $20, right? Hopefully that's not the case. Like I said, DLC Pack 1, that one scares me the most out of any of these, because new hard mode, yeah, most Zeldas, or I shouldn't say most, but like, you can go in and do that master quest, like you said. Well, that additional map features, that could tie directly into the master quest, where the master quest is just different. You go back to like, oh, the first level's here. Oh, wait, it's not there this time. It's somewhere else. There's your new
Hmm.
map features. They're somewhere else. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like that's the one that really scares me. Map Pack 2, or I'm sorry, DLC Pack 2, new original story. That sounds cool. It sounds like there's a whole new section, and I'm not gonna say, oh, that was already there. They cut it from the game. No, we'll know. We'll know if it comes out, and it seems like a half of a game. We'll know that it was cut. However, if it's a full story from A, B, C, D, that's the full game. Awesome. And then they bring this out, and you're like, oh, this is going to continue the story because the first, the game itself is so good. That'll be great. New dungeon. I see that as singular on there. New dungeon. I don't see an S. I don't. That better be some awesome dungeon. And additional challenges. Again, those could be speed mode challenges. Those could be collect X amount of items. That's cool. The one that, like I said, the one that scares me the most is just DLC Pack 1, where I'm just like, are they moving sliders and just making the game harder? Are,
Yeah.
are they making it where you can only hold X amount of items? That to me just seems stupid. Why am I paying for that?
Yeah,
That's
looking
what
at that
scares
list, the
me.
value has to come from the story mode. It has to come from the extra story and the dungeon.
Yeah.
And to me, that's got to be 10 to 20 hours to make it worth it. But like I also don't want to just look at this thing from like a single perspective and just go, "Oh, challenge mode. Oh, that means I'm going to fight wave of enemies and it's going to be this." We have no idea what like
Yeah.
maybe it's going to be something that's actually really cool, like working your way through something that's just room after room of different enemies that ends up unlocking. Maybe it unlocks another hook shot, but maybe it's a faster hook shot. Maybe it's not something that breaks the game or is pay to win, but maybe it's just a better version. And like Kind of Funny talked about this. Is there achievements for this game? Is there something that when people see me playing Zelda, will they see, oh man, he beat the challenge mode and he has this next to his name? That makes it worth going through that. And maybe it's extremely challenging, extremely hard. Like you have to this isn't something you're going to beat in an afternoon. Like you're going to learn progressions from wave 1 through 10 and then from 10 through 20 and 20 through 30. Like we have no idea. There could be awesome stuff to this. But I think our expectation, because of what other companies have already done to us, and looking at the way they've worded this stuff, we're just like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah. And that's my big thing too. Like, Nintendo in the past has kind of been like the gamers console, They'll charge us $60 for a game and we get a game, you know. Only recently have they jumped into that DLC pool. And I don't think anyone would disagree that games like Super Smash Brothers and games like Super Mario Kart were not complete games if you didn't buy the DLC. I personally didn't buy the DLC for Mario Kart 8 until way later on, and I didn't feel like, I didn't feel like the characters themselves were like needed. Like, oh, I have to buy this DLC character, otherwise I can't beat 150cc. Like, it wasn't like a paywall that I had to buy these new characters to like be relevant in the game. They were balanced. The levels were some of the best levels in that entire game. They were super animated in the background and things were moving and they were phenomenal. But on that flip side, I wasn't like, oh, dude, this should have been in the original game. Without these levels, Mario Kart 8 is trash. I didn't think that at all. Those were complete games. They just happened to work on them later on and give us more of what we wanted. I think the thing is, a lot of game companies aren't doing that right now. They literally are cutting stuff out, or they literally are making, like just things that are just like the Star Wars Battlefront DLC. That was half a game. Like, it's like
Oh,
almost, dude, it was so much content. And to look at the vanilla version of that game, and it's not like there were weapons in those in those weapon packs and stuff that came out later that were like, oh, if you have this gun, you're just way better. Not so much. But it was more the levels of that game. That was like how was there no dogfighting in this game except for like above planets? How is it that there isn't like I'm in the Death Star? How stuff that was just like core to the series, it was just like, okay, I'm fighting on this desert planet, which could be any desert planet from like Call of Duty. Yeah, I know it's Tatooine, but just like iconic stuff like the Bespin stuff, it was like, in my opinion, that was a total just like rip off. I paid double for that. Well, I didn't. People paid double for that game what they should have. And now you can get it for $60 for everything.
Yeah.
So that I think is a really poor way of bringing out DLC. Now, oh man, Nintendo, like they've thrown their hat now into that DLC arena. It seems like day one with the Switch. And I feel like you said they're not really being, not that they're being dishonest about it. They're just not like putting all the cards out on the table saying this is what you get. And I feel like DLC is such a sour taste in a lot of gamers' mouth that they're kind of playing with fire in that respect. And it's like Nintendo, like I've kind of said in the past, I would love for Nintendo to just come out with a console that can compete with like an Xbox or a PlayStation, and it's just right there graphically, and don't give us gimmicks, maybe that, and that's me just wishing on my own, or even they could go the Sega route and just be like, all right, we're bringing out Mario on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Dude, the Nintendo fans would still buy that game. Anyways, I digress. I just hope Nintendo isn't taking all the bad practices that like current companies are doing and saying like, hey, look guys, we're relevant now. We're doing what the game industry wants us to do. We're right there. We're right there with the likes of EA and Activision. We're on their level now, guys. Like, oh my gosh, I would just be like, just stop. Just don't do
they can't.
that.
They can't. They can't. And it just boils down to communicate to us so we can make an educated choice. And I, again, let's look at it from their perspective. Maybe they don't even really know what some of that stuff is yet. Maybe they're like, we don't know how long the story is going to be. We haven't finished it yet. Maybe come E3, hey, here it's, here's what it's going to be. And like I said, they could have said, hey, it's $19.99 now, but it's going to be $30, or it's $9.99 now, buy it in March, and then it goes up to $20 after that. Right? So that they could have been like, here's a reason for you to spend your money. Alka-Seltzer-Tini in the chat, I got to scroll back up here. It just talking about DLC, and she says, I mean, really, ... you just miss out on things. We have to remember that Nintendo is a business, and they are in the business of making money. That doesn't make them evil, right? In order for them to get you to spend your money, they have to put things in front of you that you want. They need to do that in a way that makes you feel like there's value behind it. That's how businesses connect with their clients, with their customers, is they go, there's value here. Right now, it feels like, hey, throw us $20, and you might get something good. We want to know. Give us more information. So,
I feel the one way that companies, and not just Nintendo, can avoid that is make a full game, make a good game, make a game where I'm like, dude, that game was so good. Like, throw me a bone. I don't care if it's Link at a bathhouse and I have to tap B to scrub his back. Like, I want it to be that good to where, like, I don't care what you give me. I don't want to see, oh my gosh, I just played through this game and I don't even know what happened. How come at the end, like, the character winked at the screen and it faded to black? What does that mean? Like, and then all of a sudden, like, there's DLC and it's like, ooh, continue the adventures of Link. I'd be like, you're what? Or how mad are you gonna be when the new Mario Odyssey comes out and at the end it says like, oh, Mario, your princess is in another castle. And then like the DLC comes out the next day called Another Castle. Like again, desks will be flipped. Um I just, dude, like make
Penny just said it in the chat, bro. Let's finish this fight. And then you're
yeah,
like,
like make
what?
a complete product. I feel all the games in the past that have done extremely well were games that were like we could go all the way back to the original Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy was a product of a studio that was going out of business.
Right.
So they said, dude, let's throw everything in this game, and as the saying goes, including the kitchen sink. And they put so much into that game because it was like everything they ever wanted to make, because that was it. That was the last game, so it didn't matter. And then that game was so well received, it completely brought that studio back from the dead. Granted, they made some crappy CGI movie that almost killed them again, but, I guess, people don't learn from history. Anyways, but yeah, make a complete product that's so good that people just don't care what the DLC is. They'll buy it. I think Mario Kart 8 did that. I think the Smash Brother games did that. It was a complete game. It was phenomenal. And it's like, hey, you guys want some more? It's like, hell yeah, I want some more. $20? Dude, here you go. I won't eat for a week. Like, just make a quality product first, then go back and be like, what did the fans want? Because who are you making these games for? Yes, they're also making games for investors. We could get on that topic too, but who's ultimately buying these games? People aren't going to invest in your product if gamers aren't buying them. So make it for the gamers. And
I think that's what this game is going to be. Looking at the few trailers that I've watched, I'm like, this game is going to be huge. There's going to be hours of gameplay here. Mm-hmm. Like they show, and they were good about the trailer of like showcasing different areas. Like you can see like snow areas and stormy areas, and just like if this game isn't 20, 30 hours long, like I said, I'll be very surprised. And this game was supposed to come out a year ago.
Mm-hmm. They've had a whole year to do polish, basically.
Yeah, and if I'm correct, it maybe even I don't know. It got delayed at least a full year, and then it got delayed multiple times, which I think finally got it up to a year. They've had time to put into this game, and I think it's going to be amazing. And I think the DLC is going to be of value. They need to tell us what it is, and then we can know. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is the Zelda amiibos. They're all coming out at a higher price. Now, these are they are very detailed, right? I don't want to put a negative spin on this like it's a bad thing that they cost more. There's crazy detail in these things. The one that bothers me is the little like I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I don't.
Or something. That probably sounded racist. I'm sorry.
So, he's the one that like, what? He's less plastic than all of these things and the least amount of detail. Why is he still $16?
Maybe they're losing money on the Guardian, but making money on him. Oh wait, the Guardian's more too, right? Never mind.
The Guardian's $20, $19.99. So all of these are. All of these are costing more, but like I said, they are a higher like detail. They look like a more detailed amiibo than just the typical ones that have come out. Mm-hmm. And so, especially look at like Wii Fit Trainer. There's like literally nothing to that mold. Like there was nothing to that whatsoever.
That's why they only made 4 of them.
Right.
Well,
So
you're a bigger collector than me with the amiibos. Does that irk you? Me personally, I guess I kind of look at that, and but as far as amiibos go, I didn't buy all of them. I just bought the ones that I personally liked. But for you as the collector, are you, like I said, do you look down on that? Kind of like, why aren't these the same price? Or like I said, you look at a lot of things from the business aspect. So do you just see, hey, it's 2017. Maybe the price of plastic's gone up. How do you view the price change? Or do you think they're just saying like Zelda's hot right now, let's charge more for these things?
Again, because of the detail on them, I can see why they're more. at the same time, as a collector, yeah, like the timing of it is bad for me. I'm just like, I can't wear, like, I'm gonna go broke. I'm not gonna pay my mortgage so that I can get all this stuff. The only thing I'm gonna try to do is, like, I imagine finding, if there's a dual pack of one of them, I'll try to get that one, because those seem to be the harder ones to get, and I'll probably get the Guardian just because he will probably be harder to get.
Just because he looks sexy.
Yeah, he does look pretty crazy. Other than that, I'll pace myself for the rest of them, which is not like me. Typically, when a new set comes out, I buy all of them immediately. So, and again, it just depends on work and what kind of income I've got coming in for that at that point. Yeah. So that might all change. I don't know. Seeing it when I can finally see one, then I could really give a definitive answer. Like, yeah, I can see why this one costs more. If it's literally just because they're doubling down on Zelda, then that's, I don't know. It's not cool. But again, they're a business. They're a business that's been losing money year after year. So they've got to. And
I'm not blaming the consumer for that, though. I think a lot of those decisions come from, look, they are trying new things, but sometimes those things, they just don't catch on. Sometimes people like that, the social norm. And I feel Nintendo just hasn't caught on to that. Like, some things you might have to do. It looks like they're finally doing it with the Switch controller, though. If you look at the layout of the buttons and whatnot, okay, that looks a little bit more standard. But some things you just got to go with the flow, I think. I think they can innovate in other ways. They need to find a balance.
Yeah, I guess, nickel and diming is not going to help their business succeed. They still need to make their products seem like they're worth purchasing. And at the same time, you've got guys like me that collect, so it's like, well, I gotta have these so it's almost like they know the mentality. They're like, they're gonna buy these no matter what, which
that's
sucks.
the way they want to do it.
And then when we buy them, we're voting with our wallet, and we're now part of the problem. So, this is crazy. We're already an hour into this, and this is take 2. Looks like everything's still working. That's good. I don't think this conversation will be nearly as long, because I don't think we are on opposing sides of this or anything. But let's talk a little bit about backwards compatibility and virtual console. Everybody's been wanting, the rumor's been GameCube games are finally going to come to the Switch. Well, I just recorded a video about this today that'll be up on it'll be up on YouTube on February 18th. That's tomorrow. Here's the problem. Virtual console games, because it's not really a backwards compatibility issue. You're not putting a disc in the Switch.
Yeah.
Unless they make some weird disc drive. I don't think they're going to. That hooks them to the dock. The biggest problem with the virtual console is you're going to spend money on old games so you can play them on new hardware, and you're playing them on hardware that doesn't have controllers that are compatible. So the quote right here, this is right from a Polygon article. It says, when asked whether or not the Switch is powerful enough to emulate the Wii U, Kimishima responded, we can take games and bring them and make them playable on Switch, so they can be remade for Switch. Yes. That said, Switch is not backward compatible with the games designed for other systems. It is not currently compatible with controllers designed for other systems. Support for certain controllers may be considered for a future update. In some cases, games from past systems may be re-released for the Switch system as either enhanced or original versions. He has to bring up controllers because the GameCube controller has analog triggers that games like Super Mario Sunshine, your flood pack, if you barely squeeze it, it barely shoots, and if you pull it all the way in, it shoots all the way. Luigi's Mansion, same thing with his vacuum. It used the analog. Smash Bros. Melee, it uses the analog. You can do a small shield or a large shield. The list is quite large for games that use the analog trigger. So it's not just as simple as saying, hey, let's throw these on the Switch and then you can play them. in my mind, maybe it isn't as big a deal as I think it is. But if it is, and then they have to make adapters like they made for the Wii U to be able to use GameCube controllers, now you're only playing those games when it's docked. You are not playing them on the go, right? Because you have to have that adapter plugged in. So what do you think? Where do you sit at this?
I know what they're talking about, like you said, in regards to those analog controllers. I finally saw an unboxing video of the Switch online, and I saw how short the throw is on that trigger. And it looks like it only goes in like maybe a quarter of an inch or so, maybe half. So they're saying it's a digital trigger, basically meaning it's got two different levels. It's got like open and closed. There's no in between. There's no half pull of the trigger. If that's the case, they might have to go in and maybe do some, like they said, enhanced controls. We might lose some functions on some of those games. We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess they could do this two routes. They could make some type of adapter that plugs into the bottom of the Switch, and you can play your games off of it, or they can come out with new Wii U controllers that now have a different plug on the end, making you go back and buy all new controllers. They're going to sell a GameCube controller now that has a USB port instead of, a standard GameCube port. But like you said, it has to be docked for us to do that. So it sounds like maybe on the go we might be able to play certain games, or they might just have to fudge the controllers a little bit, and you just won't get analog out of it.
Yeah, which may not be that big a deal.
Yeah, like you said, Luigi's Mansion. Like if you barely pull it in, like the vacuum barely sucks. I've played that game. I didn't even know it had analog controllers. I was playing it with an analog controller, but I think I was just pressing full on 100% each time, and I didn't feel like it hampered the game experience.
And that may be the case, so that it won't matter that much. But here's the question in my mind. At that point, it's like, would you rather spend $20? And I'm assuming it's going to be that much. Maybe it'll be $15 for GameCube games. If we follow the progression of pricing, it's $5 for NES, $8 for Super NES, $10 for 64, and then it jumps to $20 for Wii U or for Wii on the Wii U. So it's got to be somewhere in the $15 range. So we could play these old games again. Or would we for me, the best solution is let's sprinkle some HD remakes with new IP or sequels, new IP, and a handful of virtual console games. I would rather see Super Mario Sunshine. I'd rather see an HD remake, honestly. That's what I would rather see than just see a GameCube port. Because look at Wind Waker HD. They made improvements to the game to make it better.
Yeah.
Right? They George Lucas the thing, but did it right. And so
didn't they even take out? They had to have taken some stuff out, because recently I played the GameCube version of that game, and there's parts where it says like, "Hey, if you plug in a Game Boy Advance, you get this feature." Well, they didn't have that on the Wii U, or Wii even. So I'm wondering if I don't even remember now. Jeez.
One of the things they did was added like fast traveling, or they took out some parts of the game where you didn't have to go and do all this running
faster, I think.
They made it, they streamlined it. And so, but a game like Luigi's Mansion, I don't want to necessarily go back and play that game. Give us the third game. We've already had the sequel on the 3DS, which was great. Like the game is really fun. It's really good. Give us the third one on the Switch. Like it's okay to move forward, right? And if they're going to, if they're going to be working on virtual console stuff and whatnot, like I guess it boils down to I would rather put my money into. Well, anybody that knows me knows I would much rather put my money into a physical piece of software than just a digital.
Yeah.
Even at the sake of not having it on the go, I would rather have, a case and a cart so that I can put it on my shelf versus just everything digitally. Now, I have a lot of those GameCube games already, so to have them on the go with me, that's fine. I don't want to see virtual console games being made at the expense of new games coming out.
Oh, I totally agree. This, I get that it's scary to do that, and that's the safe bet, re-releasing it, especially on a console that doesn't have it. I also get why they do it, to kind of test the waters, Like, oh, is this game still relevant? Do people want it? Yeah, we hear it on YouTube or Reddit that people are like, hey, make a sequel to this game. It'd be awesome. I'd buy it. Great. They know one person would buy it. So they put up these re-releases, and it's like, oh, look, we sold. I mean, they're probably sitting in a back room saying, like, hey, if this thing sells 5 million, okay, then we'll think about making a sequel. I mean, I get it, but yeah, I would much rather see the continuing adventures of this character that I like than playing the last game you made of him in HD. You know, I get reasons for and against it, but I'd rather see a new game, because otherwise it just stagnates the industry. Now we're just getting, if you released the original Super Mario Brothers in 4K, I'm gonna be like, are you serious? Like, because we don't. Have you just run out of ideas? Like, I wouldn't get that at all.
So I'm going to make a video about this tomorrow. And then I want to get to the stuff in the chat, and then we'll wrap up. But the new Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, they have not announced any DLC for that game yet. Okay. In my mind, fingers crossed, there's more tracks coming out. I know there's 48 on there already, but I've already played those.
We just had this conversation. Don't you want to see new games?
Well, okay, but hear me out. This is what hit me. I wonder if they're hinting at something. I've been playing Double Dash. There's dual blocks in Double Dash. So you hit a double block and you get two items.
Yeah.
What if instead of releasing Double Dash as a virtual console game, they make a Double Dash DLC for Mario Kart 8 that adds the dual carts to this section? Like, so basically we're getting a complete HD remake, but it's coming out as DLC. And are those double question mark blocks already hinting at something like that? It's complete speculation, but like, and so, okay, continue on this line of thinking. Luigi's Mansion. Give us the brand new game, but include the HD remake. We saw Halo Wars 2 drop on Xbox today. If you buy the $79 version, you get Halo Wars 1 and 2, and Halo Wars 1 is an HD version of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'd rather see Luigi's Mansion come out. Like, here's an HD add-on plus the brand new game. So they can have the original game running on the new software, and it's just a continuation of the two.
Yeah,
I don't know. Is that a better way, or is it still better just to have brand new content?
I mean, we always hear about, like, oh, anytime something comes out and it's like, yeah, it seems like on the internet, if the company's not putting 1000% into this game, people feel like it's, anytime multiplayer gets added to a game, people are like, why did you add multiplayer? You could have used all that money and assets and put it into the game and made it that much better. I don't buy that, because look at, I know you're not really a Sony guy, but some of the people are, where Uncharted came out for the PlayStation 3, and it was, considered a phenomenal game. Uncharted 2 comes out and it adds multiplayer. The single player of that game is considered one of the best games, like, ever. And out of the series, the trilogy, well, there's 4 games now. Part 2 is still considered like one of the best games. It had multiplayer. So you're saying they tacked on multiplayer, and then multiplayer, it was whatever. It wasn't like, oh, this is the best multiplayer ever. But to say just by adding something you're taking away from the main game, I don't think that's true at all. And I think Uncharted 2 is a testament to that. Um, would I want to see like a Luigi's Mansion 2 with a Luigi's Mansion HD remake attached to it? I'm not going to complain if you're going to like give it to me. But at the same time, I don't know if I like I wouldn't see it as a negative thing if we didn't get it.
Well, and on the lines of Mario Kart, I mean, what if they went down the line? Here's your Super Mario Kart DLC pack. Here's your 64 Mario Kart DLC pack. Here's your Double Dash DLC pack. Your Wii U. So they, they're
kind of going backwards, but not.
They're using old, but give them the Mario Kart 8 touch, just like they've done already. Like they already have like some Super Nintendo, so they look gorgeous. Yeah. And it also touches on the nostalgia. But
certain types of games I think that's cool for, like Mario Kart. Yeah, dude, totally. Like give me those levels that are from the last the older games, and put them on the Mario Kart 8 engine. I think certain games you can do that with, like sports games, like a golf game. What if there's an old level from like the original Mario Kart or a Mario Golf? Throw it into the HD pack, Yeah. Or throw it up as an update. Certain games, I think that's cool. We see that all the time with shooters, where it's like they'll go back to like an old game and like bring out the level, and it's like the HD version of that level.
Yeah, and Mario Kart's been doing it since the DS version.
Yeah.
Right, where they take those old, but it's only one or two from each, and now they've gotten more and more. So again, I'm not saying like they should do this, or I'm just wondering if that's a good option for DLC, so that at the end of the day, I have every track ever released in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I like I said, that type of game, I wouldn't mind that at all.
And then come a year later, here's your $60 game that has everything, the Game of the Year edition, that you're saving $40 buying it that way at that point, whatever the case may be. Yeah. I don't know. Again, we can go back and forth with, is DLC good? Is it not? But no. I want to grab a few things from the chat, and just so you guys know, well, I haven't checked it yet, but I think it'll be fine. We're gonna use hashtag #HeyListen on Twitter. So if you guys have questions or comments or anything you wanna hear read on the show, just use hashtag #HeyListen, and we'll use them. But I'm gonna pull from the live chat right now. Prophet was saying like, or I'm sorry, not Prophet. I just read Prophet's name. Broncos, honest opinion, Nintendo needs to stop with the damn gimmicks and make some meat for content again. Their gimmicks have been failing, in his opinion. The way I see Nintendo is Nintendo's gonna do Nintendo. The Rumble features and everything that are tied to the Switch. Mm-hmm. You have games like 1-2 Switch. They're made specifically for that. We kind of talked on this last week. That's okay. That is another target. That is another market of people that like maybe could care less about Zelda, but they see this and they're like, well, I want to do this at a party. I want to take this to a barbecue. I want to, cool. Do their motion stuff great with that kind of arms. You just are fighting, like you're just fist fighting with that. That game is designed for the Joy-Cons, and that's that.
Yeah.
Like we said, don't put it in Zelda where I have to. Well, yeah. I mean, you could, but don't make it the only option, or Skyrim where I have to swing a sword and use a shield. Make it options, fine, but don't just make it that way.
Yeah, and like Game Freak says in the chat, he says gimmicks are okay in my book, but they have to have great graphics as well. I think he's kind of talking to the whole like if they want to be competitive in the market, The other systems have kind of reached a certain level of visual quality. I feel Nintendo has to kind of be right there. The catch 22 is, I think, with Nintendo, one of the reasons I think they can't just go third party and throw their games on a system like Xbox or PlayStation is because, let's say they want to add this Rumble Pack, and you need the Rumble Pack or these Joy-Con to the systems. They could make a game for Xbox and be like, hey, to really play this game, you need the Joy-Con. We're going to sell it separately over here. That could be why people are going to be like, I'm not going to play that game. Oh, man, I got to buy that game and an accessory that I can only use with that one game? Nah, forget it. That's where I think Nintendo has to make their own hardware, because then they kind of can ram it down your throat and say, like, okay, you got to use these because, well, it's only on our system, so you got them anyways now. So it's kind of a catch-22. I personally would like to see Nintendo make a competitive console again that competes with the, I guess you can say, quote-unquote, the big boys or girls. But they just decided not to go that route. They've decided to kind of do their own thing like Apple did, in a sense, and said, hey, we're just going to make our hardware, we're going to make our software. If that's the ecosystem you want to live in, cool. Yeah, they just decided to do their own thing, in a sense. I think they always will until they hit rock bottom, when they're like sitting on the floor of a crack house somewhere, needle out of the arm. That's when Nintendo's going to be like, all right, here's that 12K system that you don't need, but you're going to get it and you're going to buy it.
So, that's a terrible picture to paint. That got dark quick. This is Alka-Seltzer-Tini from the chat here. It says, seriously, they have been chilling in Japan for several years, watching the wins and fails of Sony, Microsoft, and Apple. I really hope they have been paying attention. And I think they have. I think that's why we have landed at the Switch. They have put themselves in the market that says, hey, we're going to give you a tablet that's actually worth playing games on, that aren't Candy Crush. We're going to give you a tablet that you can hook up to your...
Mark my words.
Well, I mean, they already have those games. Nintendo has made their versions of Candy Crush that they have monetized exactly the same way on the 3DS. Oh, you can't play for another half hour? $3 and you're good to go. They're testing the waters for sure. But I think they have been looking, and I think that's why they're like, I mean, we talked about it extensively last week. Like, are they really going to buy the exclusive rights to Call of Duty? Are they going to put themselves in the number one spot? Like we said last week, I mean, Microsoft, it's showing right now it's not working. Their exclusive titles aren't moving consoles, and for third party, people are buying PlayStation 4. So that everything is changing right now, and I think it's a good thing. And Game Freak says, what if Nintendo made Joy-Cons for iPhones? Oh boy. Well, I don't know. I saw this today too. I can't remember the source. Sony has patents for what looks exactly like the Switch controllers that come off the sides. They found it today searching through patents. So I don't know if it was just put on there today or just they found it today. But it looks like they may already be following suit, going, oh wow, they got something going here. Maybe it's the console of the future. Maybe it's going to move from, maybe consoles are going to be like PC games. Like people are going to either play PC or you're going to play on a device like this. I don't know.
Game system of the future. I always love that. I saw on Twitch the other day, someone sent out an old Sega CD ad that said, like, you'll go old waiting for the competition to make a better console. I must have got old 6 months later because I think the 64 came out, or PlayStation 1.
Oh, man. And then Game Freak says Nintendo will get in bed with Apple. Oh, yeah. I mean, they already are. We're seeing apps all over the time, all over the place, all the time. And, how much, I mean, who knows? That would be crazy if there was officially licensed peripherals for the iPhone, but bring it on. Bring it on. Bring their virtual console to the iPhone with a Nintendo controller that holds the phone. Boom. Millions and billions. Everyone wins.
Why not just make
Nintendo's
an
mobile.
accessory that puts the Joy-Con on the side of your iPhone? Done. Nintendo doesn't even have to make the hardware.
All right, man. Well, where can people find you online?
People can find me over on Twitter at DestinaTLC. They can also find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Destinaut. And then on this fine channel, The Loot Cave.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at N64Josh. Remember to check thelootcave.com for all kinds of articles. We've got more articles going up on a regular basis. Destiny, Nintendo, and just gaming news. Also over on YouTube, youtube.com/thelootcave. And I am going to set up a Discord for this. You should be able to find it at thelootcave.com/NPC Discord. So I will have that set up before this show goes live, so you'll be able to click on that. You'll be able to find all the links that we mentioned, including the link to the article that I wrote about the Zelda DLC in the show notes, which will be thelootcave.com/NPC3. This is episode 3 of the Nintendo Powercast. So that's thelootcave.com/NPC3. We are still trying to get the exact time and date set down for our live show. So far, it's looking like Tuesdays at 9. And that's on twitch.tv/thelootcave. That's 9 p.m. Pacific time if you want to come hang out with us. With that, remember, kids, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this.